There's a new right-wing influencer in town, and I'm a little unsure if I should be calling him he or it. In this edition of Tech Story of the Week, we dig into a story that I think helps us understand the direction of travel around the use of technology in elections and in political ideology, in this case, in the UK. I'm going to be speaking to Effie Webb from the Bureau of Investigative Journalism, who had a story out last week that is a banger. And in it, she profiles Danny Bones.
I'm Effie Webb. I'm an AI reporter and investigative journalist with the Bureau of Investigative Journalism, or TBIJ for short. And we're a non-profit newsroom based in London. And yeah, within the big tech team, I focus mainly on kind of the human, like everyday, happening now harms of AI and all those kind of harms that tech bros don't necessarily want to speak about, but they're very important to report on.
So I just want to start with, like, how did you find out about the existence of Danny Bones, and maybe say a little bit about who he is?
Yeah, I came across Danny Bones, the rapper, kind of on Spotify, just some random January afternoon it must have been. Didn't think much of it, pressed on the artist, went to like Danny Bones' profile, and there were 3 more songs there. There were like hundreds of thousands of streams across all 4. Went a bit closer onto the profile picture, which I could spot as like AI generated. So I was like, did I just listen to an AI generated like rap/grime song? Wasn't too sure because it was extremely like well made. So yeah, my interest was kind of piqued. I think I then went on social media to see if like this Danny Bones figure kind of existed in a vacuum or whether there was like an online presence as well. And lo and behold, there was, millions of views across a TikTok account, across Twitter, YouTube, so YouTube Shorts, and on Instagram as well. So kind of all the mainstream platforms, he was covered and was pumping out a kind of steady stream of, I'd say, kind of far right, anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim content that was sort of skirting the lines between, I'd say, outright hate speech and kind of dog whistle type content. So yeah, very quickly he'd built this very loyal fan base and had sort of figured out this, I guess, secret source of how to go viral.
So how long did it take you to figure out that he was actually not a he, but an it, and it was created by someone else?
So with Danny Bones, I think I certainly couldn't distinguish AI from real human when it came to the music side. When it came to the content side on social media, it was much easier to make that distinction because Danny Bones isn't this kind of like deep fake type situation. Like, he is an AI influencer, and I don't think his creators intend him to be this kind of realistic person. Like, he is quite an exaggerated kind of character. He presents as a kind of working class, young, intense looking, relatively conventionally attractive British guy who is a kind of underdog musician, a anti-establishment type, like political commentator and an influencer, I guess.
And how did you find out about Node Project? Like, are they transparent about the fact that they are constructing this character, or did it take some digging to kind of figure out who was behind it?
Yeah, it took a lot of digging. So the Node project itself doesn't give much away when it comes to who's involved, how many people are involved. They have a very kind of slick professional website where, Danny Bones is plastered all over the front. Danny Bones tracks are advertised, and they kind of describe themselves. They describe themselves as a kind of collective and a sort of experiment type thing. The website domain was registered at this penis museum in Iceland, which was a nice detail and a nice great red herring kind of rabbit hole to fall down. But from that point, it was a lot of sort of social media digging. One, is the Node project, UK based? 2, what's the link between the Danny Bones figure, the Node project, and then also this kind of more political side? So the advanced UK political stuff.
Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about the financial arrangements that you uncovered in terms of who's funding it, who's making money? Like, how does the financial side of this all work?
From what we've gathered through reporting, there are multiple streams through which they are making money. So Spotify, you can start monetizing after just 1,000 streams. I didn't realize that. I spoke to Spotify. It sounds like they are kind of monetizing, or at least kind of eligible for monetization. Certainly making money on X. The other platforms said that they were not monetizing there. second monetization stream is the Advance UK commissions. So at the same time as I'd sort of discovered the Danny Bones character, I was also, more broadly interested in how like far right groups and political movements were starting to adopt and use and experiment with kind of AI in their campaigning and their like political strategy, I suppose. And yeah, Advance UK were posting more and more kind of clearly AI generated, very kind of cartoonish political videos, short form stuff just on their Twitter and other accounts. And the style of those, I couldn't put my finger on it at the time, but the style really resembled some of the Danny Bones Node project type stuff. And, this was still kind of just like a hunch I had. But Advance UK then dropped, I think it was early Feb, late Jan, a kind of longer 2-minute kind of flagship political video, if you like, which was, again, AI generated. And yeah, the voiceover in the background sounded a little bit like Danny Bones. Right at the end of the video, the Node project logo flashed up, and then it was a kind of penny drop moment where, you could kind of make a link between all three. So that was when, I had to call up the party and ask why they paying for this content, and indeed they were.
I want to talk a little bit more about the mechanics of building the profile. How long do you think it took to get Danny Bones at the like size and scale of an audience? Was it a hockey stick growth? Was it multiple experiments and one took off? Like, do you have a sense of like how hard was this for them to do?
I think, yeah, on the one hand, it's true that kind of commercial grade AI tools that we could all use and publish with are kind of available to anyone. And in theory, people could go and create a character of Danny Bones's quality, emulate that with music as well. And then on the kind of distribution and spread side and the sort of, potential to go viral, I think, especially with the Danny Bones character, what makes it different from kind of AI slop, is there's consistency in the character, like across videos and across platforms, and even in the songs on Spotify, there is like a through line of like, okay, you kind of understand this guy, this, the political stance, this sort of pining for a Britain that once was type thing. And like, it's that consistency that's actually very hard to create technically, because, you can make one high quality AI video, but can you recreate it in another setting with some difficulty? I think what made Danny Bones also successful and has continued to make him successful is how the creators or, whoever's behind it, how they kind of interact as if he is a real human online. So replying to comments from fans, engaging with like controversy and like replying to critics. When we published the article, he did a
what was his response
video.
Yeah, what was his response to the article?
It was wild. It
was not his response. I have to like correct myself.
I know.
Yeah, what was its response to your article?
Danny's response. So within literally hours of us publishing, the Node project had already like made this like relatively well produced set of videos. One was Danny Bones like speaking directly into the camera, kind of saying the media is trying to shut us down, saying that we were trying to silence him, that we were trying to get him cancelled, trying to stop him from speaking the truth. And then the second video specifically kind of like going piece by piece through our article and pointing out all the bits that were lies and kind of spin that was, somehow related to the deep state or the establishment and the mainstream media that we were in his mind. So I think he leaned into that controversy rather than like step away.
Okay, so finally, I'd love to talk a little bit, like, is this legal?
Yes, short answer. It is legal. Like, social media platforms don't operate in single jurisdictions, so kind of besides the point. And like AI legislation is like patchwork at best, like non-existent in most places. I think the things that can be regulated are like the content itself, and is that crossing a line into either breaking the platform's rules and moderation policies there, which in the case of Danny Bones and the Node project, that was the case. So credit to TikTok, they like banned the account. Instagram took down a few videos that we'd flagged. Spotify were very, very happy for that stuff to stay up. And YouTube just added some AI kind of disclosure label type thing. So it was interesting seeing like a bit of a patchwork attempt from the different platforms. And then in terms of, whether this kind of like paying an AI influencer to produce election or political campaigning content for an actual party is legal. Again, strangely, yes. It seems to be almost like, you're encouraged to disclose if you've used AI, but it isn't, it's not a legally binding requirement, I think, especially on the deepfake side. Like a lot of MPs and politicians have been deepfakes in recent months because, they've, a deepfake that says, oh, they've defected to reform or something like that. And people are getting, up in arms about it. So I think there is a conversation happening there. But for now, it's kind of free reign, especially on places like Twitter.
And I can imagine there's two, like deep fakes is so different than slop, or if we want to call this slop, I don't know if we do. Like misrepresenting a person that exists and saying they said something they didn't say is a problem that feels more like you can grab onto it more. Whereas the question of, is it okay for investments or money to go to this kind of media and content to saturate a country with a style of content and like a political, more almost ideology than politics maybe. What do you want the regulators to do if they were to do something that you feel like would protect us from the worst of this kind of advancement in technology?
Yeah, it is a bit of a mess at the moment. I think, especially with crypto, and we can maybe get onto the crypto like plot.
Oh God, I forgot about the crypto piece. Yeah.
It's always the crypto bros have a way in. But on the like non-crypto side, like what the Electoral Commission do require is like if you've paid someone to make some campaigning content, at least in a regulated period within a, before an election type thing or a by-election in this case, you do have to disclose that and who was paid, how much, etc. That's one rule we've got. That's, a good place to start. Obviously, then crypto brings in another way to kind of hide that and occlude kind of who's actually, where the money's coming from, who's it flowing to. Not to say that happened in this case. Like I did speak to Advance UK and I asked them directly, like, hey, did you pay the Node project? And they were like, yeah, but we haven't done anything illegal, have you? I was like, no, like,
I love they're asking you.
Right. I was like, I'm not the regulator, but no.
Yeah. I don't think so. Yeah. Okay, so is Danny a crypto bro? Like, does he have a coin?
Danny does have 5 coins.
Oh no!
Off the back of 4 or 5. I think it's 5. I think one's called the Node Project, but 4 called Danny. After we published, within about 24 hours, the crypto, I don't know if they're bros, maybe just like the crypto opportunists who hang out on Twitter, and particularly those who are into like meme coins and basically turning viral moments into a meme coin on something called Pump Fun, had really shrewdly and quickly kind of taken or noticed that our story was, making some waves. It had this political kind of far right angle to it, which they were like, okay, this is, and they literally would say in their tweets, like, guys, this has such viral potential. Let's like, make it go to the moon. And it did look like something that resembled a kind of pump and dump type scheme where basically these coins get created, their sort of spokespeople, encourage people to buy in and, point to our coverage and the like to, as proof of, this is going to be really lucrative. And then very quickly that kind of peak kind of dies down and they'll kind of lose value and the people that have bought in will probably lose out. Danny Bones or the Node Project weren't sort of at the center of that like crypto storm necessarily, but they weren't opposed to it either. Like they did post they posted a crypto wallet where people could donate to. So it seemed like they were like happy to be involved and stuff, but they weren't kind of the figurehead, so to speak. The figurehead seemed totally uninvolved or unrelated to UK politics, which I just find really interesting as well. It's sort of just, let's cash in on something that we know nothing about.
I feel like this is not going away. This feels like a trend and trajectory, and you may have like reported in an early stage of something that is only going to get bigger and more intense and probably more impactful over the next months and years. So thanks for the story. I feel like it must feel good to have covered it.
Yeah, maddening but good. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
great to talk about it.
Thanks so much for listening, and thanks to Effie for joining to tell us more about her reporting. If you enjoyed hearing a journalist dig into a story about technology and power, check out our last tech story of the week with Nico and Leonardo, who looked into the use of facial recognition in schools in Brazil to do roll call and attendance. But there's more to the story than that, so do go check out that video, and we'll drop a link to that in the description.